We've all been there, right? You spend hours trying to learn a new skill, read a dense brief, or master a really complex topic, only for it to completely evaporate the second you step away. Today's explainer is diving into a highly specific, evidence-backed framework from our source material that actually solves this exact problem. It's called the 30-10 rule.
Seriously, think about your usual work habits for a second. Staring at a screen for hours, waking up the next day and realizing your brain retained absolutely zero. It's so frustrating. But, well, there's a specific, numbers-driven technique designed to mechanically anchor that knowledge right into your mind. The very first, crucial component here is the number 30. Now, this isn't just an arbitrary measure of time. It's a commitment. We're talking 30 minutes of intense, unyielding effort. You literally have to lock out the noise of the entire world and dedicate this window exclusively to whatever task is right in front of you. Then comes the second and, honestly, equally vital component, the number 10. And this represents something a lot of us actively avoid when we feel the pressure to be productive, which is a deliberate, mandatory pause. This is not a quick scroll on your phone while keeping one eye on your laptop. No way. This is 10 minutes of absolute withdrawal. So, the power of the 30-10 technique. On their own, working for 30 minutes or resting for 10 doesn't sound particularly revolutionary, does it? But when you bind them together into a single framework, it becomes a literal blueprint that transforms how your brain processes data. Imagine a single 40-minute block of your time. What you have is a massive 75% slice of pure focus, supported by a 25% slice of rest. They aren't isolated events. That rest cycle is fundamentally required to make the focus cycle actually yield any long-term results.
It creates this really stark contrast, a heavy, demanding block of full concentration mirrored directly by a much shorter block of complete rest. It's a binary system, guys. You are either entirely on or entirely off. There is no gray area here, no multitasking, and absolutely no light working. This isn't just some generic time management tip you'd find on a blog. It is a 3-step mechanical process that perfectly matches your brain's architecture. It recognizes that learning is an actual physiological event. You've got the active gathering of data, the passive processing of that data, and finally, the structural outcome.
Let's break this down. Part 1. The power of full focus. This is where the heavy lifting happens, requiring incredibly high energy and sharp attention to absorb information rapidly. You are diving deep and really pushing those cognitive boundaries. For those 30 uninterrupted minutes, there is no checking emails, no grabbing a quick coffee, no, I'm just going to quickly look at this text. Your brain has to function like a sponge at maximum efficiency. For half an hour, it's just you and the material, period. Our source material explicitly stresses the need for full concentration. This isn't passive reading where your eyes just glaze over the words. You're laying down the foundational neural connections for new information, and that takes serious effort. You are essentially forcing your brain to do the initial hard work.
Moving into Part 2, the importance of rest time. Relentless work inevitably leads to fatigue, right? So now we shift gears entirely to give the mind the quiet space it desperately needs to recover.
For these 10 specific minutes, the goal is complete and utter relaxation. You physically step away from the desk. Let your mind wander. Just breathe. This slower pace isn't some reward for your hard work. It's a physiological requirement. Your brain is catching its breath, calming down, and preparing for what happens behind the scenes. And the source dictates that this pure rest must strictly follow the focus period. You cannot skip it, and you cannot cut it short. It is the mandatory cooling-off period to ensure the engine of your mind doesn't literally overheat, allowing all that information you just absorbed to finally settle. Which brings us to Part 3, solidifying information in the brain. This is the ultimate payoff. You did the hard work, you took the required rest, and now your brain kicks off the final, invisible step of transforming short-term effort into long-term value. We call this cognitive retention. That's the literal, mechanical solidification of information. It's not magic. It's just the physical anchoring of data, a process that relies entirely on that 10 minutes of downtime to weave those new facts into your existing knowledge network. The conclusion of our source material proves that stepping away is actually a core part of learning. The rest isn't an interruption. It is the exact catalyst for solidifying the information. Without that pause, the neural connections remain fragile and are so easily forgotten. So every block of time here serves a very specific action. Focus provides the input. Rest provides the synthesis environment, and the outcome is guaranteed if, and only if, those first two steps are executed properly. It's just a remarkably clean equation for learning. Try to imagine walking chronologically through your next 40-minute study journey. At minute 0, you drop right into the zone. At minute 30, the alarm sounds, you abruptly stop and shift instantly to pure rest. And by minute 40, the cycle ends and you have successfully, mechanically solidified a new block of knowledge. Let's do a quick recap of the 3 non-negotiable elements derived from our source. First, 30 minutes of full, unbroken concentration. Second, 10 minutes of complete, uncompromising rest. And third, the beautiful result, the absolute solidification of information in your brain.
We'll leave you with this somewhat counterintuitive thought. For so long, we've been taught that grinding harder and longer is the only path to mastery. But what if the science tells us otherwise? What if doing a little bit less, in the form of a strict 10-minute rest, is the exact mechanism that helps you retain a whole lot more? Try it on your next project and see just how much more your brain can hold.